Have you ever been walking down the street and come across a person with a tattoo on their face and wanted to ask, why? Have you ever thought about what it's like to be a skydiver? Do you ever think about things that may or may not touch your life personally, such as human trafficking or sex slavery? JoleneMaria.TV has, and she wants to share it with you. This is the lifestyles of the interesting and infamous.
Say I'm crazy, maybe so. Who are they to know? Look around here, the world's gone. Start raving mad. She was a bad decision, but I just can't help myself. Start raving mad.
Welcome to Lifestyles of the Interesting and Infamous. I'm JoleneMaria.TV, and today we get the pleasure of Leaders Led coming on the show today. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves and tell everybody what you do?
I'm Justin Truly. I play the drums for the band.
And then
I'm Alex Bardacino. I play guitar and keyboards for the band as well.
the band? Which band?
Which band are we talking
For
about?
a band.
For
Which
a
band?
Not this one anymore.
No.
I'm Guy. I do the vocals and guitar for Leaders Led.
And my name's Alan, and I play the bass.
Oh, how did you guys find each other?
Well, it's a long romantic story,
Ooh,
but I will
indulge
start
us.
from the top. Me and him are brothers. Me and Al.
So that's how they met.
That's how we met. Yeah, that's
You guys
that
were
was
blessed
our-
with each other for
I
life,
met him
huh?
about 25 years ago,
Yeah,
yes.
just about.
And then?
And
Push it down
I started playing guitar first. He started playing guitar a couple of years after me, and we always used to just joke around about being in a band and whatnot.
So does that mean that you guys are just musically talented in general?
Well,
Like you were just born with it?
I think that's very subjective, but I don't. I'm not
Are you going to adjust your sleeves while you say
Yeah,
that?
I'm not going to toot my own horn about this, Jolene, but I'll start with the story about Justin and I, or I'll continue rather.
Yes.
So Justin was in our other brother Keith's grade in high school, grade school, and we all kind of, me and him and all of us used to just jam, other friends and whatnot. And then eventually I randomly asked Justin if he wanted to start a band, and then we did, and then Alex joined it, our other brother Keith joined it, and we just kind of played around for a little while. Then
How come you
That-
didn't develop a band like Hanson or something if all your brothers are
because
into
it was very
Well, that was our plan at
it was-
first. Partridge Family,
Yeah.
Hanson type deal.
Yeah, exactly. It was really just kind of casual. You know what I mean? Nobody was serious about
Yeah,
anything.
but with this guy, you didn't get into that?
Well, no.
Well, this
Oh,
is
okay.
later.
There's more.
We
Yeah,
kinda
there's
stopped
a lot
there.
before,
Don't jump the gun.
before I come into the story.
Yeah.
We did a
he's-
lot
I'm just going to wait over here.
Alan
until-
can tell his side story to that camera,
Yeah.
wow, and then our paths will meet. No, but so, long story shorter, we basically all jammed together. Then we did our own thing for a while, didn't really touch music, together anyway for a long time. And then about little over 3 years ago, the three of us started playing again, this time under Leaders Led. That's 2 adjustments so far, by the
Okay,
way.
I'm counting.
And we were jamming with this other kid, Tyler, when we first started. And, we just kind of grew apart and ended up, we were looking for a new bassist. Alan had played bass for another local band that we, had actually played a couple shows with, and one of our very first shows, actually, which is funny. And, it just kind of worked out. He wasn't with that band anymore. We were in need of a bassist, and, we all sucked at music equally, so we were just like, let's do it. So that's where we're at now. That takes us to about a year ago, and now we've been, this.
Yeah,
this
Alan's
it's
been
been-
in it for about a year
Yeah,
now.
This
pretty
month.
much a year.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's your birthday.
Hey,
yeah,
So
it's
do you
my
guys
Leaders Led
all
birthday.
like the same kind of music? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel like we all like all kinds of music.
Yeah.
So like
That's
we've been introducing each other to new music all the time.
equal
Yeah.
opportunity musicians?
Yeah.
Yes.
But we all have
Very
the
much so.
same, everybody loves the same type of music. Then we might all different styles, but we all merge together.
Yeah.
We all ended up liking each other's styles of music, because
Maybe that's why
every
you guys
music's
mesh
great.
so well together.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, I think like we, as kids, like me and Al and Justin, were all like
Pretty
really
much.
into like classic rock and like also like the stuff that was kind of like big at the time or a little bit before.
Yeah, I grew up on ZLX.
Like
My parents
alternative
always had WZLX
Yeah.
playing in the car, so it was classic rock.
Yeah, my dad's favorite band was Sabbath, and my mom's was Zeppelin.
Yeah. So I
They
mean,
made
like,
you.
Yeah, they made him the Sabbath Zeppelin baby.
Wait, for you guys though, when did you guys pick up instruments and start becoming a musician?
I had some piano lessons when I was about 6. That didn't really take, but I was always looking for something to do.
Yeah.
My older brother picked up the guitar when I was about 10, and he was kind of in this phase where he was calling me a follower all the time, so I didn't want to do that. So,
All brothers and sisters always do
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was
so-
me
You
doing
guys
it to
know,
Alex.
right?
so I didn't want to just like make him write, so I decided to play the drums for a couple of years, and then when I was 12, I sort of got over it, so I started playing the guitar, which is kind of what I wanted to do in the first place. And then eventually, maybe about 9 years after that, I switched to the bass to play in another band, and I've been playing the bass ever since.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
that
was
was really really similar for me.
yeah, similar.
Like-
I mean, he had piano lessons when you were what, 6 or something
Yeah,
around that.
6,
5,
5, 6.
6.
Between 5 and 7. Anyway.
And I'd always watch him and my other older brother playing piano. And I was like 3 or 4, whatever. And I just, after they'd do their lessons, I'd go on the piano and start playing. And then my parents were like, he should play piano too. So we all took lessons. Didn't last too long. We didn't
No.
do it for long at all.
No, I mean a few years. But then when I was like, getting to like the age where like you start like, am I cool? Like, what's cool? Like, I want to be cool. Like,
I want
I don't want to be like, I don't want to, whatever. So
I wanted to be like
you get like that
Slash.
self-consciousness, you know what I mean? And yeah, exactly. I wanted to like, nobody's going to see concert pianists when they're like 11 years old unless they're like cool. What I think is cool now. But back then, like in retrospect, I'm like, damn, that would have been cool. But back then, I was like, oh, I want to be like these guys from this band. So I wanted to take guitar lessons, and my mom said, well, if you want to take guitar lessons, you already committed to piano lessons, and I basically like decided that I was just going to do it without lessons, and I taught myself guitar, based off of a lot of like the knowledge that you get from piano lessons.
I
It
heard
just-
that piano is a good way to start because then
It
you can
is,
read music
because it
and then
gives
you
you-
can
Yeah.
start doing
Yeah, it
everything
gives you
else,
like a-
understanding.
Gives you
Piano, you
everything.
look at the piano, it's like a
Melody,
map. It's like a
bass.
map to music. You have all the keys laid out in front of you. It's all in steps. You know what I mean? A guitar is more like a maze.
Right.
Everything.
Gotta figure it all out.
But if you have that basic understanding, then you can just be like, oh, okay, yeah, and then figure it out. And
Unless
then
you're
you
a
have to
drummer.
wait 10 years until you have enough calluses
you
on your
are.
fingers, and then
Although I
Yes.
feel like that's more innate, like unless you just don't have rhythm.
Yeah, like I started because my
Why
father was in a band, and they used to play up, like family parties all the time, and they were like really good.
Fun family
Yeah,
party.
I've
Those
heard
always
that.
My
awesome.
family parties were like that.
Oh, it was
And
great.
him-
Growing up seeing
Family
them
parties.
My
play.
dad and my uncle were like the 2 guys in the band, and so there was like always musical equipment in both the houses I hung out in, and the drums for a kid kind of looked the most fun, so I just started with that.
Slamming on.
Yeah, my uncle Nick used to play too.
yeah.
Yeah, so there was like a drum set like in every house I was at, so I guess that's why I started.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I taught myself guitar just by watching. It's easy when you have an older brother that plays an instrument. I'd
Yeah.
watch him play guitar, and I'd learn little things from him playing, and then I'd just teach myself. And then, I just took it from
And then
there.
he'd start getting better than me, and I'd be like, yeah, you should stick with power chords for a little while, because,
Did you guys notice this out of yourselves when you were little? When you think back and you remember like being really little and like kind of doing things, and you're like, oh, and then like later in life you're like, I did that for my whole life. Like for instance, used to walk around with a recorder, and I used to record everything. I would make songs. I would make like I did little jingles so that like we could save the rainforest when I was little. I used to interview the TV, like somebody's going to talk back to me. They'd be like, oh, Trebek, what do you think about this? And, like, I wish I had those tapes still, but like I think back and I'm like, wow, I did this already. Like when I was a munchkin, I knew nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
totally.
that was
I think that when you're a kid, you have a very open and like objective and just completely untouched view of like the world and possibilities.
And you just do whatever.
Yeah, and I think that you just naturally are drawn to like the things that you're maybe genetically or whatever, like acclimated or what's the word?
Inclined?
Like, yeah, inclined, you know? So, and if you don't have somebody like holding you back and trying to make you into like something else, or if you say like, screw
Well, it
that,
sounds like
then-
your parents are all very encouraging to what you
That
want
was
to do.
that was
Yeah.
what was cool. Is that at least our parents,
I've
they're
met
like,
them.
do
They're
you
good
want to
people.
play? You want to do sports or this or that? And they let us decide. And you know, we always were into music. At least I was.
Yeah.
Loved music. Loved Elvis when I was really young, and the Beatles. Obviously,
That's
still
the one.
love the Beatles.
It's the one
and Elvis.
constant
But yeah,
throughout your life, you know.
Yeah.
Music,
and I mean, I
definitely.
just watch bands playing. I'm like, I love this. I want to learn guitar, and so I just learned guitar. And then it was like, oh man. And then you know, I'd play sports with my friends, but never did organize. It was more I'd sit by myself and play guitar while my friends played sports.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
give them
me
rhythm
too.
to go to.
Well, it shows now because you be shredding.
Thank you, sir.
My parents always told me that when I was a little kid, I had never stopped singing. I was just like always singing, like just making up like random melodies, like whatever I was doing, I'd be like humming something random.
Well, do you guys
And
all
I kinda
sing
vaguely
too?
remember that.
You do like
No,
backup
just
and
just
stuff
just
like
this
that, right?
guy.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, you know, we've been working in more backup vocals and trying to get it more in there because it's very atmospheric. And a lot of times we will record with backing vocals, but just don't really do it live for whatever reason. I don't know why, but
We're gonna start doing it though. It's coming in the
So-
doing it more.
future.
Start doing it more.
Are you
Yeah.
guys satisfied with the developed signature of sound that you guys have made so far? Or are you guys still developing it, do you think?
Well, I think that the answer is yes and yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
Yeah, always developing.
Because I mean, I've always like ever since I was a little kid had written songs and I always liked them. You know what I mean? But I look back on some of the early songs that I wrote and obviously like I'm like, wow, maybe it was good for like a 9-year-old kid. But you know, you'd never be like, yeah, let's work on this song I wrote.
You should do it. It'd be
But-
hilarious.
yeah, right? That'd be crazy.
That would be a good do
I
a little
should.
album. You
I bet
should.
you there's like one riff like laying around somewhere that's like, yeah, that could be cool. But no, I mean, so you're always growing, you know, and but yeah, satisfied, absolutely. I just think that we work really well together.
Well, you
And-
said that this has only been like a year, so it's still a baby.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's been 3 years with the three of us, and in truth, it's been a lot longer because since we were
kids,
Yeah.
we've been
kids, we
jamming
had been like
together.
jamming, but it was always like I said, very casual. Like at one point, around high school, like we gave ourselves like a name and like played a couple shows.
Was
But
it
that
Leaders
really
Led
it.
then?
No,
or
no.
What was the
But
first name?
The first name was Out of the
Blue.
Out of the Blue. Yeah, and that was the thing.
Funny story about that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, his
My
parents-
father's band's
yeah.
name was In the Red.
Oh,
So it's
I
like-
gotcha.
And we were
Opposite.
playing.
And
a
you know what's funny is though is that
It-
we arrived at that
Yeah.
name completely independently, not even thinking like, oh, we should name it like the opposite of.
You got it out of the blue, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's what it
pretty
was.
much what it was. We're like, oh, we're out of the
Like
blue.
one
And then
week
we're
we
like,
were just playing.
That's why she's the host. She's got the one-liners.
You should see when I'm drunk.
Oh, you're not right now. Is that not cool?
Not this
no,
time.
just kidding.
Julia, childlike. I have to be cooking. So, for people who haven't actually gotten the pleasure of hearing your band, how do you guys categorize yourselves to let people know like what they're in for? Their
We have
awesome
debated
sounds they're
that.
gonna hear.
Yeah, it's
Sound.
tough. I mean, rock music
Yeah,
Yeah,
is
it's
one thing
definitely rock
that we
music.
all agree on.
Yeah.
But then it just having so many influences, they all creep in there. So
Yeah.
it ends up being kind of a fusion beyond that.
Well, which
Yeah. But
it's
influences
mainly-
are you talking about?
Jazz, classical,
Everything.
prog
Reggae,
rock,
Latin.
reggae, yeah,
Yeah,
everything.
Latin.
But I mean, at its core, yeah, rock music.
'Cause, I mean, we are two guitars, bass, and drums. I mean, that's kind of the format.
And, yeah, and then we
One
work in
like
like
power
layers of
vocal,
other
you
instruments.
know.
I do like the piano when you guys put the piano in there, though.
Yeah, we do.
Oh yeah, that's
piano.
right.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're working.
And we've been
recently.
working more synth
Yeah, we
into
just
like a
acquired
lot of
some
starting,
synth.
starting to get,
so-
go that way a little
Because
bit.
we lost a really good synthesizer and then recently reacquired it, and we're like, oh, good, because you know, as we were speaking earlier, money,
We did some wacky
money
stuff.
and musicians until you
last
really hit
week.
it big, they're not really compatible, kind of like oil and water.
Yeah, you kind of work with the,
Yeah,
the
you work with
equipment
what
that
you
you
got.
have.
You mean
But
kind of like
so-
having a TV show?
Yeah,
like a talk
exactly.
show?
Yeah, exactly. Like a self-produced TV show. Yeah, it's sort of something like that. Yeah.
Something
Yeah,
along those
I think we
lines.
might have something in common. and grasp. No.
Bohemian style, maybe?
Yeah, right. But I mean, so, and then you know we work with other instrumentalists, like the show we have coming up at the Middle East. We got a trumpet player coming, and we've been trying to do a lot more of that. It's tough, and
Then
you
you're
have
like
to work.
stepping into ska, though, yeah?
To what?
To ska?
No, no. We use
Actually,
them
that's
more
probably
like
one that
say-
we don't do.
yeah.
You definitely wouldn't think
Do
of
some
ska if you
reggae,
heard
but
it.
that's a little bit slower.
But he like this. He's actually like a jazz trumpeter.
No,
he
I
was
guess
like New England Conservatory guy.
He's incredible. Bobby Spellman.
Amazing, yeah, Bobby Spellman.
Good guy.
And so he does a lot of like, when like a lot of times like I'll be like, yeah, maybe like some sort of like a world kind of like jazz feel, and he's like, oh yeah, so I'm like, just
He's like,
Nails
that's
it.
in A minor, 7th, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah,
just
that's
gotta,
right.
just get out of my face, just, Bobby. Just stop, making me feel like an amateur.
Well, where do you guys see yourselves in like 5 years, each one of you? See if you guys have the same idea.
Hollywood. I don't know. I honestly don't really.
That's a tough
I'll
one.
tell you what, I
That
think
is really
about
tough.
to the extent of that, I want to take this band as far as possible. And to me, that doesn't stop at like a level of success, because I'm talking also in terms of creating music too. So the number one focus is that we'll be a better band in 5 years, a much better band, and we'll continue to be better and continue to be more interesting and more textured and more, have a lot more depth than.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I think is that if you do that effectively, and you come out with interesting music that's also listenable, then you'll
I
find
think your music is definitely.
Wow, thank you.
then you'll
That makes
find
one of you.
then you'll find a fan base,
Well, the
And the
reason
fan
why I
base
think I met you guys, is because I went on that party bus.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
We're doing
so-
another one of
Yeah.
those.
I know. I'm
Doing
gonna
it
have to
again.
miss it. I'm going to New
Yeah,
York.
you're
but
going.
still.
Where are you going?
I'm going to New York.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that sucks.
I know. I'm so bummed.
Going
I'm
to
going to
New
go see a
York, that
burlesque
sucks.
dancer and stay with her. It's pretty crazy, right? My life is nuts. So why do you guys call yourselves Leaders Led? Why did you guys land on that instead of Out of the Blue?
Oh, that's we
funny story.
had been thinking of a name when we first got back together. We were thinking of a name for
We
what,
said it was
three
thrown out there.
for a while. We were thinking
Months.
No, I mean, yeah, the first show that we played with this incarnation of the, well, I guess the previous incarnation of the band with
Well,
Tyler,
yeah,
but this
but it-
this most
yeah.
recent like venture was we played a couple shows under different name and under different names, I think. But
I think it was just Wake.
yeah, but and we were always like back and forth between a bunch of different names, and we had just like been looking for, cool phrases and thinking of cool stuff, and Leaders Led came up, and it just kind of stuck because it was always like, at first I didn't really like it. I forget if anybody else did.
No,
but I didn't
I
really
I
like it.
didn't either.
Yeah, but then like I kept, no, this is why, because there were all these names where we'd be like, oh, that's a cool name, like right off the bat, and then we'd be like, nah, that's really stupid. And this one, it was more like, it just didn't jump out at me, but it just kept being like the one that'd be like, or this one, and be like, oh, how about this,
Yeah.
or that one, oh, how about
When
this?
I think I
Oh,
called
could
you
be
like
that
2
one.
days after. I'm like, dude, I think that's a really good name. I think
Yeah.
we should just use it. 'Cause
Yeah.
we have a show coming up.
Yeah, that's
And
Oh
it,
yeah, and you keep changing your name.
That's
Nobody
how
knows who you are.
decisions
They're
get
like,
made.
Yeah.
seven different
There's a
names.
show coming up. We gotta
we
get
played
a name.
55 shows under 53 names. I think we have a keeper.
But that's really what it came down to. Was like, we need a name, and I think you came up with that.
Yeah,
phrase. You read it.
No, it was, well, my girlfriend at the time and I were looking through books and whatnot. And anyway, so it popped up, and it was cool because the reason why we kept liking it more is just because it's so,
Comes
it's
off
so
the tongue.
circular. It's circular.
Leaders
though.
Led.
It doesn't
Yeah.
really make much sense. It's one of those like chicken or the egg types of names, So it just kept making me think, and when things make me think, they either really annoy me or they eventually grow on me. Honestly, a lot of times, like the best bands that I end up like loving, the best movies that I end up like being my favorite movies at first, I might not like them, and then they'll like sink in, and I'll be like, oh, I get
I
that.
get
Like I didn't like
Yeah.
that, but I'm thinking about it all day.
Napoleon Dynamite. First time I saw that
That
movie, I was
is
like,
what
that is the
exactly what I was
stupidest
thinking. I
movie.
was
Yeah,
like,
right?
movie sucks. And then
Yeah.
afterwards, I was like, this is hilarious.
Yeah, it takes a while. Like you have to get up to the level.
That's
of
so
like,
funny. I was thinking that exact.
because
I'm
that's
like,
it is a good
it's
example
so
of that,
funny.
though, right? Yeah.
Up to the level, yeah. It really was. That's like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
I like that movie instantly.
Did you like the name of the
You know
band?
what?
Did
Check
you like
this
you?
out.
Yeah, that's where I was going with
Check
that.
this out. I haven't
did.
seen it.
And
You
I
haven't
like this
seen
band.
Napoleon Dynamite?
honestly.
Get
It's-
out
You
of
haven't
here.
seen
have a
Napoleon
band night
Dynamite?
and just watch movies.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
Seriously.
So
Popcorn and all. Let's do it.
that's how out of the loop I am.
It's delicious.
Hey-oh.
So, is there one of you do you think that like sets you guys apart, that sets the tone for the band, or do you think it's all of you guys equally?
Well,
That's tough. I'd say
Guy does take a leadership role, I
Yeah.
would have to say.
He writes
But,
all the lyrics and soul singer. But I feel like
It's definitely a collaborative effort.
Yeah,
Well, it can't be.
Yeah, of course, he can't do anything
Yeah.
without the rest, without the rest
Exactly.
of us
Like
on
the
board.
thing, the thing is like
We could just go
the
on
band.
strike.
The band was built off of like a
Complete openness,
catalog
like-
of like songs that primarily were written between like me and Al, and probably like dominant heavy between maybe like me because I've been writing for a little longer, and Al because he had been.
Because you told him
a
not
little
to
bit-
because he was
Yeah,
too
it's
good
like,
at
dude, don't play those chords. You don't know them yet. You're just copying
I'm like,
me.
Guy, what do you think of the song?
You're just
I
copying
wrote?
me and
It's
improving on my
terrible.
ideas. Yeah. So, but then, like, as a lot of those earlier songs, we don't even like play anymore. And normally, like, one guy will come, like, either Al or I will come to the band with a riff, and we'll end up nowadays like working on it together and like making it, helping like arrange it together. You know, like, but
We definitely
Al-
do that together.
we
end up-
definitely
we
do
end up
that.
doing
We
that
do the
together. Like, the
arrangements,
idea
like,
will
a lot
come
of
from either
times.
him or Alex, and
Yeah, the actual riff.
and then
you
we
know,
all
like-
kind of sort of
Just like
and the
play
different
tug of war over where it goes.
And Al and
we
I
always end up with
write
something good.
very differently from each other too. Like Al writes in like an improvisational style where he'll just be like playing guitar and just like coming up with riffs. You know what I mean? I write in more of like I'll be like freaking like vacuuming or something and being like, oh, cool idea for a song. Like
He'll be
it'll just
pacing
like
around.
pop in my head.
Like, what
Yeah, I'm pacing around, yeah, like singing this riff, and then I'm like record it on my phone so I can remember it while I'm like driving and like stupid
Yeah, we
stuff
have a
like that.
different way of writing. I sit
But
down
it
and
makes it happen.
I have to like
yeah.
plan it out, and
Whatever
Al's just like, hey,
happens,
let's
I
like
think
flow
it
off of
works.
this.
I'll just
So
like
it's, you
jam
know what I mean?
out, and then I'll be like, that's a cool riff, and then I'll try to go on to that while playing still, and then I'll come up with more parts of the song. Guy he might come up with a riff, but then for however long, like days to weeks, he'll be thinking about it in his head.
Like unique about being a Boston-based band. Do you think? Have you met other bands from other places and
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of discussed that?
Yeah, we've met a few. We've been in New York a couple of times and met a couple of bands like Easy Company.
Easy Company's
Those guys
cool.
are cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool bands all over the place that we've worked with. That, I mean, so many of them that and like you'll play with all these great bands and be like, oh, we should do it again sometime, and then you're like, oh man, I'll never see these guys again.
I think their uniqueness
It's
is
just there's so many bands out there and so much music, and it's awesome. But sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's it. No, I think I jumped in on you actually.
You may have.
Yeah,
You may have
maybe.
pounced.
You guys are so polite.
But as far as
You just see
uniqueness,
them
I
up.
think every city has like their thing, you know? Like I don't know if it's an advantage, but like obviously Boston's the best, so that's it right there.
I don't know. I
think
feel like
we
I was
don't-
blessed being born here.
Yeah,
But
it's
Yeah.
the best.
You got
Boston doesn't get a
mountains,
lot
you
of the
got city.
recognition. You know what I mean? As far as it's never called. It's never put in with the quote unquote major markets when you talk about
Yeah.
New York or
But
LA.
the
They
major
always want you to
markets
go
are
to
like
those
close,
and
too.
those,
They're like
close.
those places. But
But a lot of big bands have come out
but
of
you
Boston.
find, yeah,
you know,
you find
revolution
those aren't the
started
only
here,
places to find good music. You find a lot of good music outside of those places.
Yeah, we've been around like a lot of New England area, and then
all the
even go down
Northeast,
to
really,
Vermont,
down to
DC
DC
and
and-
stuff. But I mean, so we've met so many bands, and like you have a sense of how crowds are different in different areas. Like you go to Western Mass, and it's a different style, and like how everybody talks is different. And, you get all these different
Yeah,
influences.
again, the styles kind of change. You know what I mean?
and we all merge
I think
together
the biggest
as well.
challenge being a Boston band is how it's such a sports town,
Yeah,
more than
that's-
any
yeah,
other
that's true.
city that we go to. Well, New
Yeah, like
York is
you were at
love
the, you were at
that,
the
though,
church
but-
show, and you probably
Yeah.
remember there was a lot more focus on the
Remember that?
Celtics
Yeah,
game.
Yeah, the
Yes.
Celtics game.
And then
I
they
do remember
lost,
that.
and
We were
like,
Everybody
so
and then the
lucky.
season was over,
Yeah.
like, and then we went on stage.
Yeah.
So.
That worked out great for us.
Yeah,
'cause
it did.
Even though they lost and people were bummed, once we came on, everybody paid attention to
I think
us.
that was-
'cause
I think that was
Yeah,
more
yeah,
Mike
screw it,
McCarron,
Let's get
though.
drunk.
Let's have a good time.
Yeah.
But that is a tough part about Boston. It is really like I was saying, Western Mass. It's really music oriented and like
Yeah.
stuff like that. But Boston, it's
Northampton and
sports and,
whatnot.
it's like
Yeah,
clubbing
Northampton's
and
sweet.
stuff.
Yeah.
I just
There.
Oh, it's
I don't
awesome.
know if there's much of a focus on like music in Boston, whereas
Yeah.
it's
There's
just
so
like going
much
out to
music
party.
here.
There is,
fun.
yeah.
And so many
much awesome
musicians
Yeah,
music.
you'd
too.
think
It's, like,
there'd be a
insane.
lot more.
Well, if you go like to like Cambridge and like Alston,
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's
Cambridge,
everywhere.
Austin,
It is.
insane.
It's there. It's just
Well,
kind
I
of.
mean, like the people we hang out with in Boston, like if you're a part of the music crowd, then you have all these music-loving people, and there's
You know what's been
Yeah.
a huge
so
thing
many
for music in Boston has been like on regular
on
radio.
regular
So-
radio
Yes.
has been,
I
and
want to get in
that's
touch with them, actually.
Yeah.
that whole crowd, like, and then they have all these different artist people coming in, and like, so
Yeah.
you got that whole community of, you know, you don't even notice it if you're like a stranger to Boston. You don't know that like art community.
But once you
Underground.
once you
Underground
discover
is
it, they
awesome.
really
Yeah.
unregular really makes you feel like there's something happening in
Yeah,
Boston.
yeah. Well, there is.
Well, there is, yeah.
And they've like
We're
found
yeah, but-
starting the
you know,
movement
yeah.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean that's
Honestly.
it's like they let you know about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
You know
It's
what I mean?
been
Yeah.
like, you know, ever since they've been like a factor in it, it's been better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I never used to
I've
go down
noticed
for
that.
shows
How can they
before.
find on regular radio? How can people find it?
Unregularradio.com.
.com.
That makes life so
And they
simple.
have an
Yeah.
app too, like it's
Mobile
probably
app.
for
Mobile app,
I know,
Facebook.
yeah, for everything. They're all over the place.
Yeah, they're unregular.
Oh, we go like
unregular
even like
radio.
when we're playing in Connecticut at Sully's Pub. I was talking to some guys like, oh yeah, you guys
Oh,
know
they
on
know it
regular
all.
radio. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's getting around.
They
Like,
know
people
all
know
over.
it all over the
They
place.
set up
now.
their own channel for doing festivals. All
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, the
for
ROM
covering
petition takes
festivals.
bands from all over the.
Oh,
but-
you guys should tell them about festivals. I don't think a lot of people know about this idea. I think people need to know a little bit more about it because I feel like it's a different underground thing.
What, like festivals?
Festivals, yeah.
I feel like that's been
Oh,
around
they're
for a
cool.
while.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know because I don't. My friends, a lot of my friends have no idea. Like I'd bring them and they'd be like,
Don't they do drugs?
yeah,
My friends, Alan.
Yeah, if you
None of my friends.
drugs aside, like if you haven't been to a festival,
Oh, yeah,
It's
no.
great.
it's
This-
just awesome.
yeah.
The experience is just amazing.
Oh wait, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you guys about this. Is a lot of what you do still sex, drugs, and rock and roll? Would you say that's still a factor of being a rock and roll?
I'm hoping for one day to be. No, I mean, you know.
Well, it's definitely some rock and roll.
Yeah.
There's some of that in there.
Well, I would hope so.
I think it's really. I think that's just a gross generalization, Jolene, and I'll
Yeah.
thank you not to ask me that again.
kind of
No,
insulted
now,
yourself.
Are you guys gonna storm off now? It's just one of the
Alan
this is why I on my goddamn tree and I leave.
And now that question 3 is passed, it's more medicine than drugs.
Yeah. It's pharmaceuticals,
Okay,
sex,
well, you guys were-
pharmaceuticals, and rock and roll.
Okay.
I don't have sex.
I don't want to talk about this. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So tell me about the groupies.
Groupies are
I'm just gonna wait over here for that one. You guys can.
the groupies
you know.
are just showering all over us. No, I mean it's there's all sorts of like people that you meet that are just great. Some of them happen to get very attached to the music and to the bands and to the local scene, and that type of stuff is awesome. So I mean, it's pretty cool stuff happening around Boston town. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that's what's
All around the Northeast, I must say, there's a lot of cool cats and ladies. Yeah, ladies, birds, cats, and birds.
Animals everywhere.
I gotta say though, I think groupies are fictional. I've never met an actual groupie.
Not yet.
Well, that's because you're not in.
Wait for
like-
the next 5
that's 'cause-
years.
Yeah, that's because you weren't in
We'll
Poison.
check back in with you and see
If
what
you're in
happens.
Poison, there's groupies.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
this is 2012 now.
That's true.
I think they're extinct. I really do.
They might be.
Hope not. Find them.
no,
Talk to them.
they're not extinct.
Groupies.
Come find us.
Seriously.
What's an experience that you've had that changed your life forever because of the band? Like, what have you seen or been through that
Oh.
wouldn't have happened if you weren't in the band? That changed your life that you think of, and you're like,
Guy, you look like you're about to say something.
I was gonna say just the like sheer volume of amazing underground music that there is that a lot of people don't know
And how
about.
talented
And
they are.
how
That's
talented
true.
like how many talented people there are out there, how many like amazingly just dedicated artists are out there, and then on the other hand, how much of a cool scene there is going like around this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And to like be a part of that is really friggin' awesome. I mean, it's insane. That, I mean, as far as what else would change my life, I mean, I don't know. We've had, small successes and things that we're proud of, and, but nothing where it's been like, hey, the world's right on your lap, We're working towards that,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
That'd be nice, but I mean, hey.
No, seeing DC was pretty cool.
Yeah, seeing
Yeah.
DC was
I haven't
great. I
been
mean,
there 'cause of-
I mean, it's cool.
we've played in front of a lot of people, and,
Yeah.
and a few times we've been lucky to play in front of like thousands of people like at the same time,
Scary?
No, I mean,
Not
it's
as
just-
much.
get
Not
used
as
to
much
it,
as you'd think. Like maybe
I
a
still
little
think
bit
so.
if you think about it beforehand. But then like
Justin's the shy one.
it's always
If I had
just
to hide
you get up there and it's always a gig. It's always just a
Yeah, like,
performance.
that's
Like,
the
time.
truth,
Like
yeah.
Freedom Rally. Like I remember kind of being nervous for that, but then like getting up, it was just like any other time playing any
It's
other.
like, shit, we
show.
gotta
You might
go.
be nervous before, but when you're on stage, you're just like, and everything,
Zen.
because it's like
Yeah.
all the stress going like to the show, and then like getting all your instruments ready and stuff. That might be, but like you get.
But you rehearse ahead of time. You know what you're there to do, and you just get up
I
there
just
and
get
do it.
nervous
Yeah.
about the prep.
Exactly.
Everything else, like playing in front of a lot of people, I'm more
Doesn't even
nervous.
matter,
Like
yeah.
if you were to like be like, hey, here, I have a guitar, like play a song like for all of us. I'd be way more nervous to play like a song in front of like 4 people than I am to play in front of
Yeah.
like however many.
If
Because
it
it's
was-
less. It's
I
less
think it's
like.
because you're feeding off the energy.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's less like. Yeah, you gonna say?
Oh, hey.
You know what I
Less
mean?
personal.
So it's more. Yeah.
But at the same time, it is really
you connect with
personal,
the
but
audience like as like a mass of
Yeah.
like.
if this was 3
It's
years
its own
ago,
thing.
when you're thinking about like playing in front of even like hundreds of people, you're like, oh man, you get nervous, and then you play a little show and you're like, oh, that was nothing. Then
Yeah.
you play like, then
feel
you
like-
get to that point where it's like hundreds of people, and you're like, oh, that
I
was
feel
nothing.
like it would be a
and
little
then-
bit addicting. Like I would do it and be
It
like, I want to do
really
this all
is.
the
Oh, it
time.
is.
Well, oh, it's
I was
Every
gonna say
really
sometimes now I
addicting.
see like a crowd of large people. I'm like, dude, we need to play right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't. When I know we're not billed here, but let's just like go up and jam. I love it.
Oh, before we were playing out at shows, like I'd go see a concert and be like, "That's amazing," but it wasn't to that point where it was like, oh, "I wish I could play it." Now, if I go to any concert, I'm like, "That's like
Yeah.
a big
Oh,
concert."
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, I want to play in front of all these people right now." Can I just jump up on stage? You know what I mean? You get like that.
It
you
is
get
a
that rush.
It's definitely a rush.
Oh,
It's
it's
like
huge.
I can see it on your faces right now, actually.
Yeah.
Does the lifestyle of a musician fit into like what you guys are trying to get to? Do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only lifestyle that really appeals to me.
Yeah, it kind of brings me back to like, does this change your life kind of thing? It's like, well, this is my life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like that is, you know what I mean? It's not like, because if it changed, it would be something else. And so it's, I mean, any change along this same path, I don't really see it as a change.
Yeah, I mean, like
Still
It's
I,
a
Modern
natural
life.
progression.
I don't know if I'm
I think
speaking
Alan's
for-
on
I
point
think like
right there.
all of us, this has been our dream forever. So I mean, we're living our dream right now, which is, it's thank
So
God
what you're
there's
saying
fans
is it's
and
not
thank
all
you
about the money,
fans.
huh?
Well,
No.
Nothing is about the money.
Although you could
No.
throw some at us at
Yeah,
any
I would
point,
be happy,
ladies and
but
gentlemen
great.
of the jury.
Yeah, it'll make it life a little bit easier.
Yeah, oh yeah, it'd be great. I mean,
just-
hey, hook me up.
Just
But-
being able to play music in front of people and actually having people be like, "Oh, you guys are awesome," and following your music. That's
I think the
huge.
biggest thing is just doing it. Who cares what happens?
Yeah.
I don't care.
That's my
I
motto.
just, you know what?
Yeah,
I
just
honestly
keep going.
like it's an
Going
experience.
until something-
It's
yeah.
great. It's the best best lifestyle I can think of.
Playing an instrument is like such.
Playing
a
an instrument
therapy.
does it too. Yeah, totally.
Like I could get lost in music and think it's only been an hour and it's been 10 hours. You know.
Yeah,
You're just like, oh.
yeah,
therapy.
totally.
Yeah, I've noticed when we're done with practice, like we'll all have left the room and you'll be there for like a half an hour later, just like totally spaced, just like
Cigarette hanging out.
continuing to go, like,
Yeah.
I get lost into music.
and then you'll just like be like, oh,
The mics are out.
Nobody's hearing
Hey guys, check. Oh man.
And then Alan yells down, "Alex, you want to go outside and smoke?" I'm like, "God."
Exactly. That's happened like 5 times.
today.
Oh, man.
Well, I think that is it. Oh, and I wanted to let you guys know that I'm making Leader's Lead Cheddar Bread. for you
Yes!
guys.
all right.
God.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Change is a thief, feeling the nuances of life. A noble right to pillage and ride off into the night.